wherever you go, whatever they get into. From chill time to everyday adventures, protect your dog from parasites with Credelio Quattro. For full safety information, side effects, and warnings, visit CredelioQuattroLabel.com. Consult your vet or call 1-888-545-5973. Ask your vet for Credelio Quattro and visit QuattroDog.com.
Aladocious also sounds like it could be Shaquille's brother. Aladocious O'Neal.
Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host. The desire to live and play in Greece instead of America to Jonas Valanciunas existing. It's Adam Amwala. Adam, how's it going?
It's going well. I've never been to Greece, but I've heard it's lovely. I could imagine people wanting to live there. And so I say you should get to play wherever you want to play.
More so than anything, I can understand someone not wanting to live in America right now, especially if their name is Jonas Valanciunas and not John Smith.
Yes, totally understandable. I met somebody at a get-together recently who told me that she's moving to Manchester in the UK and mainly out of the United States. And I said, congratulations. What a time to leave.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting over here, isn't it, folks? Oh boy. But the good thing is we have multiple basketball associations across the nation, the MenBA and the WNBA, and we can talk about them. And let's get ready to talk about them. And the way that we do that is by going into the Teal Memorial locker room. And that's just a good place that welcomes all people equally.
Yeah, it's kind of a United Nations of sorts. That's how we consider it.
Yeah, I guess we never said this, but it's a gender neutral locker room, you know? It's open to all, but there's all sorts of nooks and crannies if you need your privacy.
Sure.
It's like one of those ideal gym ones where there's lots of corners to tuck away into if you don't want to be greeted by an old wrinkly naked man.
Yeah, I think if you've listened to this podcast for the past few hundred episodes, you've probably assumed that was the case, that it was an inclusive and welcoming environment. But, better to specify.
The first time I went into like a public gender neutral bathroom, not just like one that's like a single door kind of thing. It was in San Francisco and I lived there in like 2015, something around then. And I remember just like going in and it was one of those ones kind of like a lot of some airport bathrooms are like this, where it's just like the toilet's a door that goes like floor to ceiling. So it completely like blocks it. But I did that just thinking it was a men's room because a man was in front of me. Went in, used the bathroom, and then I opened the door and I'm washing my hands and there's two women at the sink. And I was like, oh, shoot. Oh, no. Yeah. And then a dude went up to the sink and then I was like, oh. And then I was like, wait, what are we doing? This should be all of them.
I've definitely had that before where I just wasn't paying attention and went into the wrong bathroom. And then you're worried like, oh no, is someone going to think I'm like being a creep? There was also a time that I was at, it was like a Russian vodka bar of some sort. And they were so committed to the authenticity that men's and women's were written in Cyrillic. So like, at least have a logo.
You weren't in Russia. You were in New York.
No. I was at a bar in New York like 20 years ago. And I was like, listen, I get the attempt of being authentic, but you got to let me know where to go. But I heard a comedian with a funny joke about, he's like, yeah, my family was so woke growing up that we had gender neutral bathrooms all over our house and they were just called bathrooms.
Yeah. Yeah. I also love that. And this is something with parenting. Speaking up. So when I, continuing the lore, when I was on the flight with Carlos Boozer, when we got off the flight, I had to go to the bathroom. So did he. And he just brought his daughter in there. And she was like old enough to be able to go to her own bathroom because she's probably like 9.
Right.
But like also, yeah, just for simplicity, like, yes, just come into this men's bathroom at 12:30 in the morning with me and like, who cares?
Sure. And also realistically in that scenario, you've got 3 options and only one of them is good. You've got Carlos Boozer brings his daughter into a women's room, not appropriate. You've got Carlos Boozer leaves his 8-year-old daughter alone in the airport, not ideal. Or she comes with him to the men's room. Who cares?
Or you have option 4. Carlos Boozer uses the family restroom, and then anyone with a child younger than that sees that and goes, come on, she's too old. Come on. on.
Or the unspoken fifth option that we wish would have happened. Carlos Boozer says, hey, you seem like a responsible guy. You mind watching my daughter for 2 minutes, and in exchange, I will give you courtside seats to a jazz game of your choosing?
I mean, pretty great. Wild parenting choice, but I would be okay.
Just him bartering tickets for parenting favors.
This is how he gets by. He just haggles with jazz-related perks, but not music, basketball. But speaking of, you know who would be trustworthy in a strange bathroom exchange scenario in the airport?
You know what? I would trust any of our patrons in any bathroom-related scenario.
I definitely would. I know some of them are parents. Shout out to our patrons. Shout out to our producer level patrons as well. Polly Bird, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Noko Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed, Steph Curry for 4.
Bang! And that's just a little teaser of something I'm going to talk about later in the episode.
Chase Underulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby as a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs Boy, Balls to the Walls, Mats Forley, and Utah Jash. You know, we talked about being good, responsible people. You know who's putting some good into the world?
I would say our sponsor, Tab for a Cause.
Tab for a Cause. It's great. You go to tabforacause.org/horse. You install it in your browser. It's just a couple of clicks to do so. Then every time you open a tab, speaking of clicks, you get a pretty picture of some sort of background. And then you might see some ads in the corner, but those ads raise money for charity, and you get to pick the charities that they support. It's a great little thing. It's super easy to set up. I've been using it for years. We'll do our tab check. I've got 4 tabs open right now.
I have 24, but I have 0 unread messages on my iMessages, and that feels good.
I am usually rocking 0 at that. I currently am rocking 3. I don't know why.
You and I are aligned on that. We have 0 unread texts and thousands of unread emails.
13,000 unread emails on my... It's just, I had an email and it was the personal one, and then it just blends into becoming a spam one because now anytime you make any purchase online, they add you to their thing.
Yeah, you're automatically opted in. When did that become the norm?
I don't like it. I really don't.
I'm working on a new bit about how like modern marketing is just the same vibe as some like weird guy you went on a Tinder date with 6 years ago who DMs you once every few months. Like I tried HelloFresh like 5 years ago, and like once a week for 5 years they're like, hey, what's up?
It's a good bit. That's a good bit. You should keep going. I like it. That's really funny. Well, anyway, Tab for a Cause can help you, and it's better, and you should check it out at tabforacause.org/horse. All right, now unless you're listening on Patreon where you don't get the inserted ads, it's time for some inserted ads, and then we'll continue this episode of Horse. But if you're on Patreon, we're just going right into it. Adam, what's going on?
Not a whole lot to promote that's different from the last time, but as you're listening to this, the next bigger show that I have coming up, I guess I have a few. I'll be at the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival at the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere, but if you're in like the Buffalo or Rochester area, it's an incredibly fun weekend. I've done 20 or 30 comedy festivals in my life. It is my favorite one by a wide margin. Jon Stewart is going to be there. I believe that's sold out. Sorry. Bill Murray's going to be there. A guy I just met randomly. I don't know if I told that story on the podcast.
Told it to me, but I don't know if it was on the pod.
I'm not sure. I can tell it quickly. But either way, I'll be doing 5 shows there over the Friday and Saturday night. That is the 8th and 9th of August. And you can check that out. I believe it's nationalcomedycenter.org. Then I'm going to be headlining the DC Comedy Loft in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, August 20th. And then in September, I will be in Connecticut the weekend of September 12th and 13th, in Bethlehem, PA at Steel Stacks on Saturday, September 20th. And then working on locking in some other stuff for the rest of the year. And then the only other thing is Denver in January, which you correctly pointed out on my flyer. It made it look like I was going to be in Denver from January until October of next year, which honestly doesn't sound bad. That is not what I'm doing. I'm going to be in Denver just for the weekend of January 9th and 10th. What about you? Anything new?
Nothing new. I think the only change is that originally the Pittsburgh show that I had September 28th, I thought that was going to be the show that I live streamed because it's the ending of the 3rd Heroes of Olympus book, which has this big like plot twist. And I was trying to live stream it so that anyone around the globe could watch that and be a part of that, because I'm going to read the ending of the book live on stage. Like it'll be my genuine first reaction to whatever that plot twist is. But the Pittsburgh venue is not letting me stream it because they're trying to really promote people attending in person. I don't think they understand how international my listener base is, and it's not like people in Pittsburgh are going to be like, oh, cool, I get to stay home. Like, not it, but whatever.
Yeah.
I understand.
I get why they feel that way. I just think if they understood you and your fan base, they would know that no one who would see it in Pittsburgh is going to be like, no, I'll sit at home and not come to a show 5 minutes from me. It's the same as like MLB blacking out baseball games within a 5-hour radius. Baseball reference.
Nice, we did it. But I'm trying to now have that stream happen for the Providence, Rhode Island show, which is on September 13th. But yeah, it's the same stuff. August 14th, St. Louis. August 18th, Kansas City. September 13th, Providence. September 20th, Pittsburgh. And then August 15th through 17th, I'll be at Enchanticon. We're doing live shows for the News Olympian at that convention on Saturday and Sunday. And then you can also catch me, Baseball Reference, at every single Yankees-Cardinals game because they just happen to be playing in St. Louis the weekend I'm in St. Louis, and I am delighted.
And look at that, the rare time that I'll be rooting for the Yankees to win 3 straight games. How about that?
Let's go. Hey, we got to power up so that our teams can do better. Yeah, please defeat every AL East team. Thank you. Let's form a coalition. Anyway, too much baseball. Let's hard pivot
Not enough
and
in
get
some
into let's hard pivot and get into our WNB Q&A you told me that we have.
Yes, this question comes to us from producer-level patron Utah Jash. The question is, when an expansion team is announced, how is franchise ownership determined? Is there an auction, a lottery? Do the richest people in the new city have to compete in a basketball tournament to see who gets to own the team? If not, that one should be the way they determine it. I would agree. I mean, let's just have people play 3-on-3 or 1-on-1 to get to determine who buys a team. As far as I know, it's really just a money thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone who lives in that city. It's better when they do have some sort of affiliation with it. But as I understand it, I don't think there's any real rules to like who can or cannot buy a team. I think the other owners probably have to approve that purchasing group. So there obviously is some politics involved in that. But do you know anything about NBA or WNBA franchise purchasing and sales?
The only thing I believe, at least with the WNBA, is I think that when it is announced, I think ownership groups like put together proposals and submit them to the league to be like, hello, choose us to be the owner. Right. And then they choose, because I remember there being a little bit of drama with who purchased the Golden State Valkyries. Because I think it just like was an add-on to the Warriors. And I think that there was some frustration in that. Like there were other groups, like there was an Oakland-based group that wanted to put together a proposal to have a team and it be like they would play where the Warriors used to play. So I think what it, like, you know, these ones are announced. I feel like the default is probably just giving it, if it's in a city that has an NBA team, like they're probably going to want to just work with them to expand it. So like with the Detroit Shock, or Detroit's team, which I would assume is going to be the Shock, returning, and the Cleveland team, which I'm assuming is going to be the Rockers again, returning, I feel like they would just go to the Cavs ownership group and the Pistons ownership group and be like, hey, do you want to do this? And then for the Philly one, I would think that the Philly team, I would think that people just like submit proposals for, hey, we would like to be the Philly ownership group, and then they try to pick the one that makes the most sense. I don't know exactly how they do the pricing. I think in the NBA, they like look at valuations of teams and stuff, and then there's like a set price. I just know that there's always this talk of whenever there is expansion, there's a big influx of money because there's a huge fee that the new ownership group has to pay, and then that gets split amongst the owners.
Yeah, and as I understand it, and this may be a very regional New York reference, but it's almost like when you're trying to buy an apartment and like the HOA board has to approve you as the person to buy the apartment. I think that there is some component of that with owners where they're like, do we want this particular ownership group to own the team? And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, in a lot of sports, what it really comes down to is like, are you going to be a company man or a company woman and like do what we as the owners have decided is the most lucrative for all of us? And sometimes they don't like people who are outsiders who push back against that sort of thing. Like Mark Cuban was very popular with fans, but I don't know that he was always popular with other owners because a lot of what he did was like, hey, some of this is bullshit, and like I don't want to just go along with it because you say I'm supposed to, and then they will try to force you out.
Yeah, because the owners have to be a block. I mean, they don't have to be, but because they're terrible people, they want to be a block when it comes to CBA negotiations, and they want to make sure they're a unified front of all of us are going to do whatever we can to maximize money. We don't want any of you to be considering the players as human beings. No. These are all entities that will make us more money.
And listen, let's be honest. If we're talking about the NBA, and WNBA is a whole different topic that we're going to get into in Full Court Press, but like NBA wise, the players are making a ton of money. Let's not like have any doubts about that. But yeah, at the end of the day, the owners are always going to care the most about their own checkbooks. And unfortunately for some of these people, it is like kind of a cynical investment where they're like, yeah, this is just a part of my portfolio, and I think it's going to make me a lot of money.
Yeah, you get that with some teams for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's to the best of my knowledge how it works. And I'm intrigued to see with all the things coming out with the new teams. I mean, Portland Fire, the WNBA team, they recently released their logo and everything, which looks really good. It's
Would
like
you say it looks
on fire. It does. It looks great. And they appear to be keeping the black and red color scheme, which would go along with the Blazers. It looks really good. Like their symbol is kind of like firefighter looking-y as well, just like the shape of kind of like the shield. So I think Portland Fire is going to be quite solid. And then just praying that the Cleveland team is the Rockers, the Detroit team is the Shock, and then Philly is anything that is not the Liberty Bells.
Yeah. Hopefully I think we'll probably... Well, I guess it might be a while before we find out those names because, like, Portland is going to be in the league sooner than any of those teams are. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for all of them, we seem to be learning about the logo like a year before they go in, because that was when we learned about the Toronto team being the Tempo, which I think is a great name, but their logo I am displeased with. And I feel like we learned about that one before this season started, and they will begin next season, I believe.
But I mean, slam dunk opportunity for a partnership with the pre-made meal company Tempo, much the same way that Liberty Mutual, obvious sponsorship for the Liberty, because why would you not do that?
Got to do it. You got to do it. All right. Now, what we got to do is get into Full Court Press. Get it? Like the news?
Oh, yeah.
So there's news to be had. Let's keep it rolling with WNBA stuff. The WNBA All-Star Weekend happened, and it was very fun. You have Natasha Cloud winning the skills challenge. You have Sabrina Ionescu returning to the three-point contest and dominating the three-point contest.
Yeah, and you know what? Caitlin Clark didn't get to participate in any of it, which was a huge bummer, especially because it was in Indianapolis. But hot take, maybe not that hot of a take, I think Sabrina wins anyway. I mean, Sabrina almost defeated Steph from the NBA three-point line against the greatest shooter who's maybe ever lived. So I think I would have had my money on Sabrina even against Caitlin Clark.
I would have as well. I think something that people don't recognize sometimes with the three-point contest is that it is so unlike actually shooting threes in a game.
Totally.
You never pick a basketball up from a rack during a game of basketball, fun fact. So it doesn't always just translate to a good shooter is good at the three-point contest. Famously, JJ Redick was horrible when he did it. He kept stepping on the line. He took too long. Like, it's just, if you're not used to it, you're not used to it. And Sabrina just seems to be very comfortable with the format.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that actually kind of makes sense because when you think of Sabrina's game, like, she can certainly create her own shot, but she is more likely to catch and shoot, whereas it seems like 90% of Caitlin Clark's three-pointers are off the dribble.
Yeah.
So,
and similarly, JJ Redick, he was always like running around full speed, catch, turn, shoot. He is very rarely just like 100% stationary. Like his whole game was predicated on creating space by being so quick to get open for shots.
Then again, so does Steph, and he was still nasty at three-point contest, but he's correct. He's one of one.
Yeah, no, like, yeah. So I think Sabrina also would have been my bet if I was a betting person, which I am not.
Right.
But speaking of betting people, we'll get into that later because that's like some of the more recent drama.
And a quick side note,
but
there was
of
a
course
video,
in the NBA.
There was a video recently of Klay Thompson working out. I don't know if you saw this. And he's just
shooting.
You mean
73 in a row?
But it's like watching a robot. I mean, the form and the release and every part of it is the exact same every single time. I don't think I could hit 73 layups in a row.
No, I would get nervous at some point and miss it. But we'll also talk about Klay Thompson because there's huge Klay Thompson news.
Oh, why? Megan
Look at
Stallion?
all these segues. Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm so happy
Megan
for both of them.
Stallion.
She
got him a nice
Kermit
watch.
the Frog. Good for her. Good for him. Good for them. I'm so happy for them. And I needed to text my friends who are Houston Rockets fans to know, like, does this sting a little harder that the Splash Brothers continue to have, less than ideal run-ins potentially with Houston-based entities. But no, I think this is great. I think they're a really fun couple. Clay is so fun. Megan is so fun. They're both very good at their jobs. They both seem like very nice people. The hard launches on Instagram were very cute.
Yeah.
I'm happy for them both. I think it's just like they're the perfect pairing of, very eccentric, proud, outgoing, very in the spotlight girl, and then like the chillest dude. Like it's just a great opposites attract kind of pairing.
Yeah, there was a very cute video of him showing off this fancy watch and then being like, "Yeah, Megan got it for me." And then at the end, I forget exactly what he says, but he says something like, "Isn't she a nice lady?" Just something like really funny like that. I also, I want to know if Megan Thee Stallion has any strong feelings on scaffolding. That's really the interview that I need.
Yeah, we need to know her thoughts on scaffolding, chocolate milk, and dog ownership. Because those are kind of the big off-court Klay Thompson things. But man, and boats. He's taken her on his boat. He has to have.
Must have.
He has to have.
Yeah.
I mean, good.
Maybe he let her be Megan the captain.
Hey, I mean that's great. I don't know how the whole dating came together. I was sad to see Klay leave the Warriors, but I wonder if him being in Texas helped now that he's on the Mavs. I don't know.
What could be more perfect than Stallion and a guy who plays on the Mavericks, a horse-based team? This is just horse content for the masses.
This is right up our alley. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, that was a necessary detour. But other WNBA All-Star Weekend things that happened. The game, unfortunately for some, was much like an NBA All-Star game where it was not necessarily the most competitive. It just sucks coming a year off of the WNBA All-Stars, aka the Olympic scrubs, trying to beat the crap and then dominating and defeating the Olympic team.
Well, there was also some extra juice because Arike Gunbowale, of course, was not on the team. She came out to prove a point and did so by scoring, 35 points in one half?
Yes, at least 30. So just ridiculous stuff.
Bonkers.
So it's just kind of like a whiplash to go from hyper competitive All-Star game to more of what we've come to expect from basketball All-Star games. And there were a lot of people that were disappointed. I get it. I didn't think it was going to be a hyper competitive thing. Yeah. I would have liked if it was, but unfortunately it was, standard All-Star game fare with not a lot of defense.
But that was not the big story from the weekend. The story from the weekend was the shirts that they were wearing in the warm-up lines that I believe said, "Pay us what you owe us." Is that what the shirt said?
Yes, that is what they said.
So what are your thoughts on this? Because there was a lot of discourse on the internet. A lot of people had very strong opinions in both directions. Where do you stand on all of this?
Hello, horse listeners. It's Mike after the fact. I didn't realize this while we were recording. I didn't learn until afterwards that the CBA negotiations are ongoing. I thought they were set to start after this season ended, which is why the answer that I give is the way that it is. So I was wrong. Just wanted to give everyone the context of some of the things that I'm talking about here are with misinformation, and it just proves that this protest shirt wearing plan was a good one because it brought more awareness, and I read up more on the situation that was ongoing after the recording. Probably should have done it before, but just wanted to get that out there. Anyway, here's the episode.
I think they are correct in that they are getting underpaid. I think they will soon have CBA negotiations.
I think it's after this season, unless I'm mistaken.
I think it is after this season. So part of me was kind of like, do you need to do this? But the other part of me realized, after the news was covering it a lot, that it was good to, before the negotiations happened, get the public to kind of understand what's going on. Because I think there is a huge misconception, not only just with dude bro sports heads in the comment section of any ESPN social media post, but also just people that don't understand how the WNBA is working. And I hate, this is the classic, the worst person made a great point. But the guy who runs Barstool made a really good point on Twitter, unfortunately, just talking about how where we're currently at with the WNBA, valuations of the league and the teams are like skyrocketing. Like the prices of getting these new franchises are going to be astronomically higher than what they were just to get a team a couple of years ago. And all of that increased valuation money doesn't go to the players. And even right now, like their percentage of basketball related income, which is like how the salaries, the max salaries get determined, that percentage is way low and way lower in comparison to what the players get in the NBA. Because that's like almost 50-50, maybe like 40-60 or something. And I think in the WNBA, it's like 8 or something like really small. Like it's quite a small percentage. So I do think they are currently in a situation where they need more money. They deserve more money. And I hope that those negotiations go well. But a tiny part of me was like, you're going to be able to negotiate this summer. So it felt a little like, okay. But after letting it sit for a couple of days, I fully support it.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is, I don't know, I have a few feelings on it. The first is that for anyone who thinks that the WNBA players are sitting here saying we should all be making as much as NBA players, I don't think any of them think that. I think what your point is that what they're asking for is a split that is commensurate with what is in the NBA in terms of like the profits that these teams are making. Now, as I understand it, the WNBA as a league has not ever been profitable and is largely subsidized by the NBA. However,
I think that's another misconception thing.
Well, but that's also how leagues kind of work when they're younger.
Correct.
Like the NBA was not profitable, I don't think, until probably 30 years into its run.
I mean, Uber wasn't profitable for however many years. Like there's so many things where it's not just about like the year over year money you're making, but the valuation. And that is the big point that the dude who runs Barstool was making, is that like, sure, maybe on a year to year basis, the league is not making money, but like the valuation of the league and everything is so high. And once they get new TV deals and once they have all these new expansion teams come in, like that's going to change. So just because you lost money in 2024, it doesn't mean that you're not like on an incredible trajectory. Like the league is exploding.
The important thing is that in this upcoming CBA, which will presumably cover the next, 5 or 6 years as they usually do, you want to be setting yourself up for the fact that, yes, even if it's not profitable now, it is clearly on a trajectory to be that way. And whenever it is, we as players want to make sure that we have a fair cut in that.
Yeah.
The other thing about it is like, obviously the Liberty are a particularly popular team. They're coming off of a championship. But I went to a game a week ago tonight. There were, if it wasn't a sellout, it was just shy of one. There were probably 16,000 people in that stadium. Like someone's making money from that. So you can't tell me that people are not making money from these WNBA games. Attendance is up throughout the entire league. There's a reason that it's expanding. And of course, a lot of these players are making a ton of money from sponsorships like, Caitlin Clark or Cameron Brink. Like they might not make that much from their WNBA salary, but the money that they're making from brand partnerships and from advertisements is like a huge amount of money. The other thing that I'll push back on is that, as you always see, and sometimes it's more fair than other times, there's people who want to dismiss the WNBA as being terrible, who put together these compilations from the All-Star game of like, these are the people asking for more money, and then showing a bunch of air balls and missed layups and whatever. But to those people, I would say, let me put together a compilation of clips from the NBA All-Star games, and I will show you the exact same result. Like, yes, there are times where it's kind of an ugly looking form of basketball, but like I said, I just went to a game a week ago. It is a very high level of basketball that is being played. So like, if you want to cherry pick certain clips, you're always going to be able to do that. But there is some hideous basketball played in the NBA. So like, if we're going to play that game, it works both ways.
100%. Yeah. I think there's also just a lot of things currently where the WNBA is making money from increased merchandise sales and stuff like that. And I think in the current contract that the players don't get any cut of that, which is something that the NBA players do. Like you get a percentage of your own jersey sales and you don't get that in the WNBA. So I think that there's a lot of things in the CBA where they can just kind of point to like, we should be able to have this, we should be able to have this. And I think that the players just want to make sure that they have the power. And I think that ultimately this move was to kind of show that the players are going to be strong. Their union is going to be strong. The support is going to be behind the players, because the fan support, people are always going to side with the players over the owners, because the players are the product. That's what people actually like watching. So I think that they're using this opportunity. It's like it's the last kind of big thing where all of us across many teams are unified together before these negotiations. Let's kind of get ourselves in the news. And I think it was good. I think it was smart. And I hope that their negotiations go well when they get a new contract.
But I also do agree with what a lot of people have pointed out, which is that it does still seem like Caitlin Clark gets a lot of like unnecessary jabs from other players and kind of like catching strays from people in a way that's unfair, where, let's be honest, I think the WNBA was trending in a very positive direction anyway, but she's absolutely a large part of the popularity of the WNBA. You can't dismiss how important she is to the popularity of that league. So it is kind of a bummer when you see people like making snide remarks about her or just being like generally negative towards her.
Did that happen for this All-Star weekend? Or?
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm misinterpreting what the nature of it was, it seemed like Kelsey Plum during a press conference was like taking shots at Caitlin Clark. Maybe it was like jokier than I perceived it to be. But I wish that more people would think about it as like kind of the rising tide helps all ships sort of thing. Because if Caitlin Clark left the WNBA and was like, I'm going to go play in Europe for $30 million a year because I can, it would hurt the league. So that's really all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up what she said. It was a very powerful moment. Plum said, at least as players, we didn't know that was going to happen. I think it was kind of like a genuine surprise, but the t-shirt, United Front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for it. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that. Yeah.
And again, maybe I'm misinterpreting it. Maybe it was meant to be like I'm joking around and just like some playful jabs, but it just seemed like kind of out of left field and unnecessary. So
I think she was probably frustrated about the lack of desire to be part of it. I mean, the vibe I've gotten from Caitlin Clark is a little bit of Michael Jordan Republicans buy shoes too, where it's like she doesn't want to like fully do some of the extra stuff. Like she kind of just wants to stay out of everything.
Right.
Not that she's ever given bad responses. Like she does always defer to like the people who came before her, recognizing like, the league exists because of the stars who built it in the past. So she understands that, but like, there hasn't been necessarily like going the next step for advocacy. Not that she has to, but I can see why some of the other players might have frustrations for it. So it's one of those like, I understand why Kelsey's upset. Is she justified? I'm not sure, but I understand her frustrations.
Right.
I don't know if voicing them aloud is what you're supposed to do. And I think Sabrina and Ionescu said that maybe you don't have to voice that aloud. So that seems like a reasonable take from Sabrina.
Agreed. But aside from the WNBA stuff, as we head into the second half of the season here, NBA news, there were some interesting signings and buyouts and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I guess the big one is that Dame Lillard is going back to Portland, which is really cool.
So good.
I love that.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a perfect situation for both of them. It's a 3-year deal, and I think his third year might even have a player option, so he can opt out if he wants, if he plays really well in that first year back. He's taking the whole first year to recover, but now he gets to do it at a facility he's familiar with, near his family. If there's ever a better team for him to like not really play for, it would be the Blazers.
Yeah.
And then he'll have 1 year with them, and we can kind of see like, are the Blazers ready? Because they're very young, but they do have like some exciting pieces. And it's just a question of like, are we ready to compete now? He can kind of use that. And then on the flip side, the Blazers can see like, is he going to help us? And then that third year, either if he's not playing well, he opts into the player option. If he is playing well and the Blazers aren't where he wants to be, maybe he opts out and tries to join a contender. It's a perfect situation for both.
It's hard to imagine, but how sick would it be if he could win a championship in Portland?
You really want to see it. You really want to see it. But at the very least, like, I think this helps to establish him more as like truly a Blazers guy. It felt like when Wade went back to the Heat after his sojourns into Cleveland and Chicago.
Right.
And people will just like ultimately forget about those unless you're basketball sickos like us. So I think people might forget about the Milwaukee Blip if he, remains with Portland for the rest of his career. But it's a perfect situation for both. So that's really great. The Clippers have put together a bunch of old guys who are good. So it'll be, but like they have a good roster. It's just a question of like, can it work?
I mean, this is the ultimate, if they stay healthy, team.
Yes. Yeah. The on paper Clippers.
Because the names on that team are absurd.
Yeah, the Clippers recently brought Bradley Beal in after his buyout with the Suns, and then they also brought Chris Paul back, which I think is so cool. I love CP3 being back on the Clippers. He wanted to be close to his family. This will probably be the last team he's on before he retires. Like, he'd get to retire as a Clipper, but like genuinely as still a contributing member of the Clippers. I think that's going to be really
also
cool.
hilarious, though, that Bradley Beal is getting like hundreds of millions of dollars from the Suns and then $6 million a year from the Clippers.
I mean, that's how buyouts work. It's what it is, and it's very funny. But yeah, they'll be interesting. I mean, they got Harden there. They signed Brook Lopez this offseason. So they have a lot of older dudes, but like they got dudes. They've got a bunch of dudes.
Can I tell you something?
So, like,
Brook Lopez up there in terms of like most underappreciated, consistently good players in the past 2 decades.
I think he's going to be one of those players when you look back at like the all-time lists, you're like, you know, most 3-pointers made by a big man or like all-time rebounds or all-time points scored. You're going to be like, Brook Lopez? And then you look at his basketball reference page and you're like, Brook Lopez. DeMar DeRozan has a little bit of that too. DeMar DeRozan has just like always been good, rarely been injured, and just like 20 points a game every year. Here we go. It's me, DeMar DeRozan. And I love that. I love a player that just like by longevity is like, yeah, good for them. Cause like that's genuinely hard to do in anything. So shout out to Brook, especially because he like redefined his entire game. Like he was down low, dunks, rebounds only guy. And then all of a sudden one year was like, what if I was amazing at 3-pointers? And it extended his career by who knows.
And also
how
like
long.
flat-footed. I'm not even jumping when I shoot this because I'm so large, 3-pointers, but beautiful form.
Just great stuff. That's the kind of inspiration. I love when basketball gives me inspiration to be like, it's never too late to do anything. Like Coach Pop didn't get his first head coaching gig until 54. I'm like, look, until I'm 54, I can still make my big break, you know? Like it's still out there.
As I've alluded to on the podcast before, one of the big goals for me is to achieve C-list celebrity status by the time the next All-Star game is in Chicago. And the rumors are All-Star game at Wrigley Field in 2027. So I've got about 2 years to, I mean, the bar is so fucking low at this point. The people in the alleged celebrity All-Star game, mostly like influencers at this point. So why not?
But then when I look at the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game roster, and I'm like, who are these people? And then I go to their Instagram pages, and they have 5 million followers.
Yeah.
So you just, you need, even with intense niche internet fame, still people are like, who are you?
Sure.
But I look at these pages, I'm like, who's this person? It's like, oh my God, a lot of people care about whatever this person is doing.
Exactly.
Okay, never mind. I'll retract and retreat back to my little corner of the internet, which I'm very happy with, and it's all good because I can go grocery shopping and not have to wear a hat and sunglasses like I'm a celebrity or anything.
Yeah.
But the Clippers have some dudes, so that'll be fun. And then only other thing I can think of is the ongoing Malik Beasley and also Terry Rozier betting scandal situation.
Yeah, there are multiple betting scandals going on across multiple sports, and guess who's not surprised? Me.
Us. Yeah.
Every freaking game, there is a cut-in of people working for the team and for the network in studio saying, well, what do you think? Are the Cubs going to get more or less than 1.5 runs over the next 2 innings? Well, what do you say, Bill? I'm going to take the over on this one. Shocking that players would want to be involved in this gazillion-dollar industry. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have ads for these betting companies plastered on every part of the game and then also be surprised when players want to get involved. But Malik Beasley looks real guilty. Some of the clips I have seen, pretty egregious.
Yeah, the situation with what's currently happening is that Terry Rozier, they launched an investigation like last year, and then it kind of went quiet. They launched a Malik Beasley investigation with the FBI this offseason, right before he was supposed to sign a big contract because he had a very good year.
Yeah.
And now there's been more reporting thanks to Pablo Torre Finds Out, which is a very good sports deep dive show with investigative journalism. And they did some like intense deep diving to find that the Malik Beasley situation and the Jonte Porter situation seem to be linked, like a similar group putting that together. And it also might be included as well with the Terry Rozier one. That didn't seem as clear from that, but I feel like the Malik Beasley stuff has like made the Rozier things resurface. So,
and there was even a clip of Gary Payton II on the bench, like responding very weirdly to a situation where like the spread is not covered. For anyone who's unfamiliar with betting, which hopefully is a lot of you, the spread just means the amount of points that a team is anticipated to win by. So like if the Warriors are playing the Bulls and the Warriors are favored by 9.5 points, as long as they win by 10 or more, they cover the spread. If they win by 9 or fewer, or they lose, they do not cover the spread. But there was a clip of the Warriors on the bench, and particularly Gary Payton II, like reacting in a way that is completely not in line with what was actually happening in the game and only really makes sense if you know what the spread was. So I feel like there's probably way more of this going on than we even realize.
Yeah. And the Malik Beasley thing is interesting because what happens is in all of these cases is you just have like way too many bets happening for a non-star player, and it's usually for them to do under what they're supposed to do. The Terry Rozier one looks really bad because in the game where a lot of people place bets on the under, he like left early with an injury, and that's what Jonte Porter did, and he got caught. The Malik Beasley one is interesting because like the game itself, when there was a lot of betting activity, it was for him to get under like 3 rebounds or under 4 rebounds, and he got his season high of rebounds, like 6 rebounds or something. So, and like quickly into the game. So his performance for that particular game didn't look like he was throwing it in, and he played the whole game. And the rebounds, he was like really trying for the rebounds. Right. It's not like accidental rebounds. He was like jumping over people. So my cynical brain is like, was this an intentional thing to throw them off the scent of like, they had done other ones earlier, and then this one, it was like, hey, try really hard to get rebounds so that we have like evidence that you're not doing it. But then there's other things that make it look more obvious, where just like, he seems to try really hard in some games when the game is like over, like they're down by 10 points, and he's like really trying to score a basket that then puts the team over and makes the spread either get covered or not covered or whatever. So like there's other things. And then his other, like he's had weird other financial situations. The Malik Beasley thing is just like everything aside from the one game that they know everybody bet on looks really suspicious. And that's what's so silly about people doing this is like they do all these things with these gambling companies like DraftKings and FanDuel who like will have all this information.
All the data is there. Like, you're not doing it with an individual bookie. So like it's going to, when there's, I guarantee you when there's any sort of like statistical anomaly, even if sometimes it's just random, they're looking into all of that. So, and the bigger problem is that it's not just betting on like who's going to win or who's going to lose. You can bet on the most minute details of the games. And I bring this up not to be the silly make a baseball reference person, but there's a concurrent ongoing investigation of a pitcher who people can bet on individual pitches. So you can say like the first pitch of this inning, is it going to be a ball or a strike? There's one video of him when a ton of people were betting on him throwing a ball, throwing it like literally halfway to home plate, like bouncing it on the ground in a way that is so obvious. And then there's another one where he's supposed to throw a ball allegedly, and he throws like a borderline pitch and the umpire calls it a strike, and a pitcher who has just thrown a strike can be audibly heard saying fuck. So like you're giving yourself away here.
Yeah. So we'll see how the Malik Beasley thing goes. It does not look good because of all the other stuff. But that he's not a good person, so I don't feel bad. And also he's a bad guy. Not
to justify it for anyone, but like a Jonte Porter who's a fringe, up and down from the G League sort of guy. It's wrong, but I get it more than someone like a Malik Beasley who was about to get a ton of money.
Yeah,
and
who's had big contracts in the past.
I just don't understand what the motivation would be to risk everything for that.
Malik Beasley he's a very unintelligent person, and he's unwise with money, and he's a bad person. So it's a lot of combination.
What is his? Why is he a bad person? What has he done?
He had this whole thing where like he first like cheated on his wife with Scottie Pippen's ex-wife and stuff. I don't know if they had a kid together, but like at least did that. And
was
then
it at
there
a
was
Coldplay
this thing.
Concert?
Oh gosh, I don't.
I'm already sick of that, by the way.
It's run its course. But also he had a thing. He went to jail for it, where there was something like I forget the event, but there's some sort of like event where he lived in Milwaukee where like people would come through and like look at, it's like some sort of like tour where you see some of the fanciest mansions in Milwaukee, and he like agreed to have his home be a part of it. But then when people did, he like fenced off the driveway so people couldn't come in, and like, you know, showed a gun to one of the people to like tell them to get off his property and stuff, and then like got thrown in jail for it. So, and then just like he had other things where like he didn't pay his landlord, he didn't pay maybe his barber or his agent. Like there's things of him like not paying people large sums of money. So just like many things of him not being a good person. Yeah. So we'll see if this gets added to the list. But that is the end of Full Court Press Get. I Like the News. And Adam, let's get into your 3 on 3.
1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. 3 on 3.
Let's do it. So my 3 on 3 today is inspired by myself and also by an NBQ&A from Ginger Spurs Boy. The question from Ginger Spurs Boy was, what are some wild rules that either the NBA or ABA used to have or that other leagues have that could be fun in today's NBA? Or if you could make one change to today's game, what would it be? So with that in mind, I proudly present my 3 on 3 of rule changes that I think could and should actually happen, and then 3 things that will never happen but would be fun if they did.
Cool. I like it.
So there's been a lot of discussion in the past few years about the NBA becoming unwatchable, at least during the regular season, in large part due to the extreme number of threes attempted, the lack of defense, and the load management. Now, I actually think this has perfectly coincided with the growing interest in the WNBA, because for basketball purists, in many ways, the W is kind of the highest possible level of the below the rim game that 99.99999% of us play all the time. So with that in mind, I have come up with 3 rule changes that I think should happen and would improve the game, and then 3 rule changes that are so out of the box that they'll never happen, but it would be fun if they did. These are largely NBA focused, but some of them would also apply to the W. So we're going to start with the ones that I think could and should actually happen. At number 3 on my list of things that could actually happen, one of my biggest pet peeves as a basketball fan is watching players intentionally wait until after the buzzer sounds to fire off a long distance shot at the end of the court.
I think they're fixing this.
Oh, really? I didn't even know this was like in the offing.
It's been introduced into the G League, which is like when they test new rules. But go on.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what my proposal is, and then you can tell me if I'm actually like,
I'll let you know what they are doing in the G League. Yeah, it's actually really fascinating.
With the exception of maybe Steph Curry, who actually believes he can hit 70-footers and has proven that to be the case, most other players don't want to be the person shooting the ball at the end of the quarter, because in all likelihood they will miss, and it will affect their field goal percentage. Instead, it becomes a game of hot potato in which players either don't shoot at all or intentionally shoot after the buzzer. On one hand, I completely get it. There are tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars at stake for these players, and the last thing they want is to give owners a better negotiating position by having a lower field goal percentage. That being said, the fact that we rarely even see these attempts at all means that fans are robbed of the potential thrill of seeing one of these shots go in, which I've been at games where someone hits like a half-court shot. It's a ton of fun.
Electric.
Yes. Now, I don't know
I've made
about
a half-court shot in a game.
Oh,
Electric.
Really? Okay, actually, so I'm literally getting to this exact point.
Okay.
Growing up playing basketball, it was the opposite. Everybody wanted to be the one with the ball in their hand at the last second, because then you get to fire up a half-court shot. It's the one time that your coach doesn't yell at you for, you know, shooting a silly shot like that. And like, none of us have a bunch of money riding on what our field goal percentage is, so why not? So with all that being said, here's my proposal. I think that henceforth, any attempt from beyond half court with less than 3 seconds remaining in a quarter should not count against your field goal percentage. If it goes in, you get credit for the points and for the field goal attempt. But if not, it counts as nothing. It's just like, it goes in as not an attempt. This way, we as fans get to see these shots attempted. The players don't have to worry about it coming back to haunt them during off-season contract negotiations. And I honestly think that a lot of these players are skilled enough that we would probably see a decent number of these go in, and it genuinely would make a difference in a close game. Like when I see a player not attempting a long shot when their team is down 7 going into the fourth quarter, it genuinely bothers me.
Yeah, no, 100%. So your proposal is very close to what the G League has. So they say that anything that is before the timeline, which is about 36 feet away from the basket, it's where you'll see when people take timeouts, it's like where you inbound the ball, it's like just past half court. The little like jump ball circle at center court, it's like right before you get to the edge of that. Anything from that and behind is considered an eligible heave attempt. And the way it works is just like when you shoot a shot and you are fouled, where if it goes in, it counts as a made basket. So if you were 2 for 4 on the game, you shoot, you get fouled, it goes in, you are now 3 for 5. If you shoot, you get fouled, it does not go in, you're still 2 for 4. And now you're shooting free throws.
Yeah.
So this would be the same thing. You shoot this half court heave. If it goes in, you're now 3 for 5. If it doesn't go in, doesn't matter.
Was it any time during the game, or is it specified?
It doesn't
when
list
it can
the
be?
time. Here's exactly what they say. Certain unsuccessful end-of-period heaves will be adjusted from an individual player's missed field goal attempt to a team field goal attempt when the following criteria are met. 1, the missed field goal takes place within the final 3 seconds. Sorry, okay, so they just didn't have the number 3.
Oh, that's
the
exactly
final
what I
3
proposed.
seconds.
There we go.
Yeah. So the final 3 seconds of the first 3 periods of the game. 2, the missed field goal attempt must take place from beyond the outer edge of the center extended circle, so the timeline I was describing. And 3, the play must originate in the backcourt. So it has to be, like you're taking the ball out of bounds and then going. You can't just like have a half court thing, dribble to center court, and then chuck it up.
Sure. Well, I'm glad this is being addressed. I love that. And perhaps
so it's brought into the G League, and I think they would be able to vote on it this year if they want to introduce it, and they absolutely should.
Yeah.
There's literally no downside to this. Please do it. It's so good.
Yes. Okay, cool. All right, number 2, I propose that we widen the court. Let me explain.
This is my big one, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So one of my other biggest pet peeves is that because of how spaced out the modern game is, players hang out at the perimeter, and at least a few times a game, sometimes I swear as many as like 5 to 10 times a game, players get called out of bounds for standing along the sidelines. Now, the current NBA court is 94 feet long and 50 feet wide. I think that the length is fine. I think we should widen the court by 2 feet on each side, making it 94 feet long and 54 feet wide, and giving players extra room to operate along the baseline. Now, the counter argument would be that this would further encourage players to jack up ill-advised threes, and that might be the case. But as I see it, players are going to keep doing that anyway, so let's at least cut down on the number of times that the entire momentum of the game stops due to a size 19 shoe grazing the out-of-bounds line. It's the equivalent of like a pitch clock violation in baseball. It's not sexy. It's not fun. It detracts from the vibe and the momentum of the game every time it happens. Expand the court.
Right. Here at Horse, we want basketball to be as sexy as possible. So I
really do
support this. Yeah. But yeah, I think the other, like the counter argument here is like, well, because the corner 3 is so much shorter, that's why you have less space, because it like goes against the advantage, right? Like the advantage is for the corner 3, it's not as far, because if you ever look at an NBA 3-point line, it like hard cuts in.
I wouldn't care if they made the whole
shape.
Arc a parabola and just expanded the court all the way out.
That's been my thing. Make it wide enough. People are all mad about corner 3s and stuff. Make it wide enough to where you don't have to cut in the 3-point line at any point. Or even just kind of like you're saying, make it a little bit wider, make the corner 3 like a little bit farther. Maybe it still cuts in and goes at that, sharper angle slightly. But yes, I never want to see someone get caught for stepping out of bounds, trying to set up for a shot. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, it's against the rules, but the spirit of the rule, like, does it matter if your foot is 1.2 inches versus 1.0 inches? Like, no, it's so stupid. And it just sucks when that gets called. So yes, I agree. I like widening the court. It's way better than people are like, add the 4-point line. Like, that'll make things worse. Widen the court. It'll make it better.
All right. Finally, this is my number 1 on the list. And you could argue that this should be in the never going to happen category, but I'm going to include it anyway. Please shorten the regular season, and I would say also the playoffs, albeit less so.
This is why we're friends. I would have picked these exact same 3 things, and I'm not in this order and everything.
Yeah. All right. This year's playoffs saw Achilles injuries to 3 star players in Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, and, of course, Tyrese Halliburton. A season that once went from November to early June now goes from early October to late June. Not to mention the fact that, unlike players of yesteryear, these guys essentially trained 12 months a year. They are playing a higher octane version of basketball than has ever been played before. So here's my pitch. Go back to starting the season around Halloween. Remove 12 games to make it a 70-game regular season instead of 82 games. Keep the play in because that's been fun and it doesn't add a lot of wear and tear on the players. Then make the first round best of 5 as it used to be. Keep the rest of the playoffs best of 7. I still think the playoffs are too long, but they're not going to remove rounds. And if you have to charge more for tickets to make up for the lost revenue, of course that sucks for us as fans. But if the result is a healthier league with more stars playing in more games, I feel like that's what really matters.
Yeah, I think they should do it. They never will, but they absolutely should. The only other thing they can do, I think like the length of season being longer now is actually better because it was done to reduce the amount of back-to-backs and stuff. In my dream world, just like I don't know, start the season in September, and then like you never have any back-to-backs, but like that's just unfeasible, and they'll never do it TV-wise also. But yeah,
and I also think the players do want an off season.
Yeah. 100%. The solution is to reduce the number of games. The only chance that it could happen is when they bring in the new teams, because currently, like the way it is set up, I believe you play every team twice, and then you play every team in your conference 3 times, and then you play every team in your division 4 times, and that's how you get to 82. And that won't work when you add in 2 new teams, like it is rumored that is going to be the situation whenever they do next expand to probably Seattle and Vegas, hopefully Seattle and a different team. Because I think it'd be more fun if we like brought back a Vancouver team. So it would be the time to potentially address bringing in and making it a shortened schedule. I don't think it'll ever happen, but it 1000% should.
All right, so those were the things that I think could conceivably happen, that I hope happens. Let's get on to the more outside of the bun ideas. Shout out to Taco Bell.
Oh, baby, 4th meal.
4th meal. Why not a 5th? Why stop there? All right.
Look, some of the times I've had Taco Bell, it's in 5th meal territory.
Oh, yeah. To say nothing of Whataburger.
Dude, my big fast food hot take is if every single fast food place on earth was replaced with a Whataburger, I think it would be an improvement.
Wow. That is a hot
Just
take.
like I will never choose any. If I'm in a place where Whataburger exists, I'm never choosing anything over Whataburger.
Wow.
So why not just make them all Whataburger?
That's high praise. High praise.
But then we'd lose out on Taco Bell, which is just
it's true.
Quality. But it's not, but it is.
No. It's good, bad food. Let's put it that way.
It's exactly what you need when it's 3 a.m. and nothing else is open.
So, number 3 on the list, controversial topic, partial refunds when star players don't play. Let me explain. Now, this is one that you and I discussed on the podcast recently in relation to Caitlin Clark's injury and kind of ongoing injury woes. And then ironically, it happened to me a week later. So as I mentioned earlier, my girlfriend Celia and a friend of ours went to a Liberty Fever game in Brooklyn last week. And I bought tickets like 24 hours before. I was like, things seem good. She's playing. All is well. And then literally in the final 40 seconds of the Fever Sun game on Tuesday night, Clark re-aggravated her groin injury, ended up missing both the Liberty game and, of course, the All-Star festivities in Indiana, which really sucked for her and for the league. All to say, we spent a good amount of money on those tickets, and while it was still a great game and experience, we were obviously bummed out. And I also felt worse for like all the little kids there in their Clark jerseys who like really wanted to see her and didn't get to. But what you and I
need to learn about sadness.
I know. But what you and I discussed was that some fans were asking for refunds, and here's my kind of out-of-the-box idea. What if the NBA and WNBA offered partial refunds in the form of credits towards future ticket purchases for games where star players don't play? So my idea, and this would be controversial in and of itself, but it could be fun. My idea is that the league, or perhaps the teams, designates 3 quote-unquote marquee players per team. Now, in some teams, it would be obvious. If it was the old Heatles, it would be like, obviously, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. For other teams, they would be struggling to find even one marquee player. But in any case, marquee players. And if any of them don't play in a particular game due to injury or load management, fans receive a voucher for $20 off a future ticket purchase. Now, this accomplishes several things. It makes fans feel like they're being taken into consideration. It encourages players to play when they can. And it incentivizes fans to keep buying tickets to future games. And I've actually seen this model work at comedy clubs where they do a thing where like a person comes in for a show. When they get there, they're handed a voucher for like 50% off any future show. And the ROI on that, from what I understand, is huge. Like that's a ton of their business is people like coming back and using this coupon. And at the end of the day, people love a deal. It'll never happen, but I think it would be cool if it did. There's way too many factors. There's so many people who buy tickets on like the secondary market that you couldn't have it be like a refund. But I think if there's a game where, you know, LeBron is sitting, to hand everybody who comes in a little ticket that says like, here's a, you know, coupon for a discount off a future game. I think that could be like a cool middle ground of saying like, we recognize that this is an unfortunate situation and like, here's a little gesture.
Yeah. I think it's just going to be something that's too complicated for all of the teams to manage and they wouldn't do it. And also I I'd be trying to game the system. I would be like buying tickets intentionally so that it's like, oh, well, this person might get injured.
Yeah, you buy the cheapest seat possible to get the voucher.
You're right. Like I think there would be too much like gamification to where it would work out. But I understand it because I've definitely like a couple of times when the Knicks came to town when I lived in not New York, and it's the one time they're coming, and then Porzingis was hurt. Like that happened to me twice, and it sucked, especially because the Knicks were really bad, and it was like if I'm not seeing the one good person on the team, what are we doing here? So I totally get it. I just think more people need to recognize that buying a ticket to a sports game is gambling because you are gambling on hoping your team wins. Otherwise, you could be like hundreds of dollars in the hole and then your team loses. It's like that's the only gambling I do is buying sports tickets.
All right. Number 2, you addressed it before. Very controversial. 4 points if you make it from beyond half court. Hear me out before you judge. Hear me out. I think this one would go horribly wrong. However, if you made shots from beyond half court 4 points within the last minute of every quarter, and this would also work hand in hand with the idea of certain shots like not counting against field goal percentage, it would make for a very ridiculous end to games. Now, would it end up just being a bunch of bricks? Almost certainly. But imagine your team is down 7 with 45 seconds left. You pull up from just beyond half court and hit a 4, which I know sounds ridiculous. And now you're within a basket. 3 to tie, 4 to take the lead. This, I mean, if I'm being honest, this is like more of a Harlem Globetrotters, Savannah Bananas type idea, but it would be like a little fun. You have to admit.
Yeah, I just think it's already fine. I think just shoot threes, but I get it. I get the appeal. I just worry that you get like. If people are mad about people shooting threes, people will be mad when people start training just to be 4-point specialists. And then there's actually offenses that incorporate like Steph just kicking it at half court. And I think I think 3-point shooting currently is beautiful basketball. I think 4-point shooting would produce gross basketball.
Yeah, it would be exactly like the end of that thing they used to do at the All-Star game where it's like you have to hit a shot.
Oh, the shooting stars challenge.
Exactly, yeah. And you just would see people miss like 15 half-court shots in a row. But, all right, number 1. I think we all know what the greatest basketball video game of all time was. Am I right?
NBA Jam Tournament
Correct.
Edition specifically.
Here's my proposal. If a player, WNBA or NBA, hits 5 consecutive field goals, they are designated on fire.
Whoa,
with each
higher
subsequent
standards than
shot,
NBA Jam.
With each subsequent shot they hit until they miss, they get 1 extra point added on to said field goal.
Interesting.
Now, this would have fans locked in on who the players are who are getting hot, who have like made a bunch of shots. We could even incorporate the like, he's heating up or she's heating up. It could like play in the arenas. And there could be like a counter at stadium showing which player on each team at any given moment had hit the most consecutive shots. It would also then be interesting to see how defenses responded to keep the ball out of that player's hands on the next possession, especially if they did get to the fire status. Now, I know this is never going to happen, but here's my realistic alternative proposal. I think we all know that the NBA All-Star Game is a joke, and from what I saw, the WNBA...
Yeah, do it in the All-Star Game. Exactly.
From what I saw, the WNBA All-Star Game could be best summed up by an actual quote from ESPN's Elle Duncan during halftime. Quote, "Like a girl's trip to Cancun, right now, there's no D." Wild thing to say on ABC. I cannot believe that she said that.
That's amazing.
In any case, I say we do an NBA Jam themed All-Star game. We have on fire statuses. We have certain markers on the court worth certain amounts, and we just have fun with a game that's meant to be an exhibition where nobody gets hurt anyway. But yes, in my perfect
do it during,
world,
like the Rising Stars one,
sure,
like something that'd be fun.
I still think having people be on fire in actual games that count would be absurd and kind of fun, and why the hell not? But yeah, that's my final proposal. That is my list, and that's my 3-on-3.
My proposal, if you do the NBA Jam thing, is that you have to put something into people's shoes that when they're running really fast, their shoes turn a solid color. Because that was always the thing when you're using turbo. If you're the blue team, your shoes are completely blue. You got to put something in the shoes, or if someone's running, it's like, oh, he's using turbo. That's fun. It's a fun list. Okay. I'm going to go very quickly through my That Actually Happened because we are at a very lengthy episode currently, but it's okay because this isn't the longest one. This I wanted to do because we referenced it in an episode once, and I incorrectly referenced the line of a song that goes supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Shaq-adocious is what I said. But what the actual line is supercalifragilistic Shaq is Aladocious. And that is because, did you know Shaquille O'Neal rapped on a 1993 song called What's Up Doc, in parentheses, Can We Rock, by the Fu-Schnickens featuring Shaquille O'Neal?
I think I only knew about it because you had referenced it in that, episode, but I absolutely did not know that that was a thing until you had said so.
Yeah. So this was actually Shaq's foray into his rap career, which, like, of all the NBA rap careers, was the most legitimate. Because if you've not heard Shaq rap, Shaq is good. Like, Shaq is just legitimately good at rapping, full stop. He's a good rapper. End of discussion. And what happened was in 1993, Fu-Schnickens was working on their second album. They're a hip hop group, and they had recorded a song called What's Up Doc. It used a sample of Bugs Bunny. They could not get the clearance from Warner Brothers to use the sample, so they put it on the shelves. But then Shaq is mentioning that he wants to do hip hop music in the off season and stuff more and more. He's a rookie at this point, and he's mentioning that he was very interested in rap, wants to pursue it, etc. So Fu-Schnickens reaches out to Shaq for a collaboration, and then he records a verse to add on to the already recorded What's Up Doc. And they have the group saying the What's Up Doc as all of them plus Shaq instead of Bugs Bunny saying it. They make this song, and it's so good that they release it as a single, even though their second album is nowhere close to being done. It becomes a top 40 hit in the summer of 1993.
Wait, they got clearance, you said?
They did not get clearance, but basically, like, they were working on their second album. They weren't even close to finishing it. They record this thing with Shaq because they're like, well, we have this song that we've already finished, but we can't do the Bugs Bunny stuff. How about all of us just say What's Up Doc instead of having Bugs Bunny say What's Up Doc on repeat? And then it was so good they were like, let's release this now because Shaq has just won Rookie of the Year. He's a big deal. They release it. It goes top 40, and they don't release their second album until a year later, like October of 1994. So, like, the whole purpose of a single is like, this album is coming out soon. But this was more of just like, let's just get this song out because it's good and people like Shaq. And it, like, skyrocketed them. They performed the song on the Arsenio Hall show. We talked about it in a previous 3 and 3 I did where they performed it at an NBA All-Star game. So, like, became a huge thing. The music video is fantastic. It's filmed under the Manhattan Bridge on the Manhattan side. And then the whole thing of it was just that Shaq was actually good. And people are like, this is nuts. Like, he's so good at basketball. He's just won Rookie of the Year. He had an incredible college career. And this dude can rap, and he's like legit. I can't recommend anyone enough to listen to the song, but like his verse is good. He wrote it himself. Like he wrote it. He's credited as a writer and everything. And like the bars go hard. It's great.
I don't know if there's a lot of swearing in it, but I can't believe they didn't use it for Space Jam if it's literally using like a Bugs Bunny sample.
Well, so it doesn't use the Bugs Bunny sample because they couldn't get it cleared.
Oh,
so like there's no Bugs Bunny in it at all. They just keep saying,
but it's still called What's Up Doc. Yeah.
It's still called What's Up Doc, Can We Rock? And yeah, I wonder why it's not in there. Maybe there was some sort of thing of like, Shaq, was it in Space Jam? Is this a Kazam versus Space Jam beef where they didn't want to put it in?
Yeah.
Was Fu-Schnickens Too Persnickety? Maybe, I mean, look, the soundtrack...
Was Fu-Schnickens Too Persnickety? If that's not the episode title, something has gone horribly wrong.
The soundtrack to Space Jam is like top tier amazing. It could just be that like the vibe wasn't there. Like it's a perfect no misses soundtrack. So that could just be it. But like, man, the song is great. It's really good. And Shaq's bars on it are fantastic.
I propose revisionist history that we replace the R. Kelly song with this Fu-Schnickens song on that Space Jam soundtrack.
It's really good. It's really good. Now, there is some other stuff. We'll link to the article about this, but like this kind of set up Shaq's future rap career. And what happened with this is that Jeffrey Fortson, who is better known as Def Jeff, he was Grammy nominated as a rapper and a producer and had albums of the past. He said about the whole Shaq rapping situation, quote, "My friend Ron Mack saw Shaq rapping on one of those morning shows on TV at 7 a.m. I've never been a huge sports fan, but I just happened to be watching the show at 7:30 a.m. and Shaq is rapping with the Fu-Schnickens. I was like, wow, check out Shaq. He can rap. rap. My friend Ron calls me and says, hey, you should get up some tracks. I said, that's probably not going to happen.
Why does all of
Here's
this
the opportunity.
rhyme? This whole thing reads like a rap.
That's how good Def Jeff is. This is like, I make puns subconsciously sometimes, and I think this is it. He's just constantly rapping.
Just bars.
That's probably not going to happen. He has
day.
the opportunity to work with anybody in the industry that he wants to. But he had a connection with Shaquille O'Neal's agent. So basically, one of the executives at Def Jeff's label had a connection with Shaq's agent. And then that agent happened to reach out and be like, hey, would you be interested in working with Shaq? He needs an intro for his album. So Shaq had already made his entire first album, Shaq Diesel, but he wanted an introduction. So he met with Def Jeff and was talking about like what could be the intro. And they hashed that out and everything. And even though the album was done, Def Jeff played one of the instrumental tracks that he had produced to be like, hey, would you just listen to this? And Shaq was like, that's good. I want to make that into a song. And that actually turned into the lead single, like the first single of Shaq's album,
that's
Skills. Cool. And then I think in parentheses, I Got Dem is the song, but it's like one of the more famous Shaq rap songs, and Def Jeff does a verse on it, and it's very good. Like the beat is great, the bars are great, it's awesome. And then that kind of like really skyrocketed. Like the song was number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it brought a gold certification, which the Fu-Schnickens song also got. So Shaq's like first 2 songs both got gold certified, which is
by the way,
nuts.
I'm assuming it's Def Jeff as in DEF, but every time you say it, I just think it's like hearing impaired Jeff.
No. It's like Def Jam Jeff, Def Jeff.
Okay, got it.
So
that would be even more impressive if he had this whole career and also couldn't hear well.
Yeah, man. So that was just cool that like it launched into the next career. And what was really great was that Def Jeff appreciated that Shaq was like genuinely interested in hip hop. Like he knew his stuff. He reached out to people that he really respected. Like Phife Dawg from A Tribe Called Quest is on one of Shaq's albums. So like he's reaching out to people. Yes, he's reaching out to people he cares about. He's like putting in the work. And Shaq had 2 later albums that were nowhere near as successful. And that's because I think a lot of people getting in, and what Def Jeff says in this interview is that people saw the dollar signs and then they didn't really focus. Like the first one that they did, it's like the music. Shaq was doing it for the music. Def Jeff had a little hand in it. Like it was all about the music, and that's why it did so well. The other ones, not so much. So it's just cool that this silly little song that they had to get around a copyright issue. So they brought in Shaquille O'Neal, because why not, launch this whole career. And I think the only proper way to end this is by me. I'm not going to do like a Shaq impression because I can't do it well enough to make it sound cool. But like the bars, I will at least say like what Shaq's verse is in the Fu-Schnickens song, because we can't also just like play the song because of copyright issues. But the lyrics are quite good, and I highly recommend anyone check it out. So Shaq's verse goes, I'm the hooper, hyper, protected by Viper. When I'm out there hooping, you better decipher. In other words, you better make a funky decision, because I'm going to be a Shaq knife and cut you with precision. So that's a fun... Bars already. Forget Tony Danza, I'm the boss. When it comes to money, I'm like Dick DeVos. Now, who's the first pick me word is born in? Not a Christian Laettner, not Alonzo Mourning. Who were picks 2 and 3 in the NBA draft after him?
Wow.
Then he immediately follows this with, that's okay not being braggadocious. Supercalifragilistic, Shaq is Aladocious. Piece of guy to go, because I ain't no joke. Now slam it, jam it, and make sure it's broke. It's so good.
But what does Aladocious mean?
So I'm glad you asked, because Aladocious means extraordinarily good and wonderful.
That's a real word?
I think it's made up from Mary Poppins. I think that's her justification of what the Aladocious part means. Yeah. But let me just Google it real quick.
Aladocious also sounds like it could be Shaquille's brother. Aladocious O'Neal.
Let's see.
Either way, the fact
the internet,
that's
what I'm getting from the internet,
it
says that it's not a standard English word. It is part of supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and it like that whole word means very positive and exciting. So I think it's just positive. So
the only thing that
Shaq is great.
Verse is missing was some sort of like Penny Hardaway reference, like stacking cash, but don't call me Penny, something like that.
Yeah, look, but I mean,
pretty great.
He
we'll
gets
of course
that with
post a link to the video and the song.
Yeah, but like he gets that in with Dick DeVos of the DeVos family, the owner of the Magic, who Shaq played for at the time.
Is that the same DeVos as like Betsy DeVos?
Yes, that family owned the Orlando Magic. So Shaq is shouting out his own owner, and then he shuts down the people who were taken 2 and 3 in the draft after him, but then immediately goes, "I'm not bragging." It's so good.
I think he's both Aladocious and braggadocious, but either way, I'm on board with it.
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. And you can also watch a video online of Dirk Nowitzki reciting that rap line, that entire verse from memory, because he says he loves that song and memorized it.
You know, as they say on the internet, Dirk is invited to the cookout.
Yep. And that actually happened. Thanks for listening to this episode of Horror Source, hosted by Adam Amawala and Mike Schubert. Our editors, Kensu Saramaki. The music is by Bettina Kabomanis. The art's by Allison Wakeman. The website is by Kelly Schubert, and the social media is by both of the Horse Boys.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Bird, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Doka Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed, Steph Curry for 4.
Bang, 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 bang.
Chase Underulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby as a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs Boy, Balls to the Walls, Mats Furley, and Utah Jash. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horse Hoops and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops because
Horse Hoops was run by Christian Leitner and Alonzo Mourning, and Shaq was like a Shaq knife, which is a jackknife reference, and cut them out with precision.
Ooh, I like it. You can go to horsehoops.com for links to the many things we talked about today, including, of course, the video for the Shaq and Fu-Schnickens collab.
Of course. And if you want to support the Horse Boys, you can go to patreon.com/horsehoops, get a bunch of access to really cool stuff. And you can also go to horsehoops.com/merch, get digital merch, physical merch, Sub-Nerds shirts, good stuff. We're going to put our hands in the middle and say something in the count of 3 to close out the episode, as we always do. What are we feeling? Could give our good vibes to the WNBA players and say, show me the money on 3. We'll Jeremy Maguire reference
we can
to
try
hope that they get their paid.
All right.
Show me the money on 3.
1, 2, 3. Show me the money! Great scene.